Okay, so I'm going to start the class now. So can you see the screen?
Yes, sir, we can see.
Yes, sir.
Okay, did the chapter on second law of thermodynamics. Now the next topic is gas power cycles. Gas power cycles. So basically, we are going to discuss about thermodynamic cycles, which are used for producing the power actually. Okay, using gas as a substance. Now there is a okay. So the diagram which you can see here relates to a four-stroke petrol or diesel engine. Okay. So what you can see it here is this is the piston. Okay. This is a reciprocating part of the internal combustion engine. Then we have the cylinder wall here or cylinder here. Then there are valves. This is one of the valves. This is another valve. And uh, this location, this is actually known as the bottom dead center, sometimes denoted as BDC, and this is actually the top dead center. It is denoted as TDC. Okay, and once again, somebody wants to join. Uh, this is the bore of the cylinder. Bore means diameter. Okay, and this is basically a cylindrical shape. So this is a cylinder. We have been talking most of the times about a piston cylinder arrangement. So same is shown here also. And as I have told you, there are two valves. One valve could be for inlet of the uh, gas, and other could be for the outlet, or it is sometimes also known as exhaust valve. Okay, and if you have a petrol engine, then we have a spark plug available with us. Okay, this is known as spark plug. Or if it is a diesel engine, then we have to inject the fuel, and we have a fuel injector. Okay, so these are the components which are related to the cylinder and piston arrangement. Now this piston which is shown here, this is the piston, and here we have another component. It is known as connecting rod. Connecting rod. Okay, and sometimes it is also called piston rod. Okay, because it is connected to the piston, and it is connected. This connecting rod is connected to crank here. This is the crank. Okay, and this crank is actually at the center of this crank. We have the crankshaft here. Okay, this is crankshaft, and when this crank shaft is rotated, the rotary motion of the crankshaft gets converted to the reciprocating motion of the piston. It is written here. So piston moves in or out of the cylinder. Just wait, somebody wants to join. So as I told you, the piston moves between this top dead center position and the bottom dead center position, and This length of the cylinder is actually known as stroke, and it is denoted by L. So it is also known as, sometimes known as, stroke length. Okay, so piston always moves between top dead center and the bottom dead center. The position which is right now shown here pertains to the somewhere in between the top dead center and bottom dead center. So piston is here. If the top side of the piston reaches here, then the piston is at the bottom dead center, and if this location reaches here, we will say that the piston is at the top dead center, and whatever is left here between the top dead center and the cylinder head, this actually location is known as cylinder head. Okay, and in between this empty space, this is actually known as clearance volume. Okay, this is clearance volume. So that is just the naming of the various components, or some uh, items like stroke and etc. Okay, so now I am going to explain you the working of a four-stroke petrol engine. So just try to listen it carefully. See, when I say four-stroke, okay, four-stroke petrol engine. Okay, I am saying that we have four strokes. These four strokes are suction stroke, okay. The second stroke is actually known as compression stroke. The third one is known as the power stroke or expansion stroke. And the last stroke is known as exhaust stroke. Okay, so there are four strokes in a four-stroke petrol engine: suction stroke, compression stroke, power stroke or expansion stroke, and exhaust stroke. Now, you can see it here. This is, you can say, this position here. This is the TDC actually. Okay. Now what happens? Uh, we have two valves. One is the inlet valve here, IV. IV stands for the inlet valve, and EV stands for the exhaust valve. Okay, forget about this V and V written here. V and V is written for valves. Okay, so IV stands for inlet valve and EV stands for exhaust valve. So initially the piston is at the top dead center. Okay, when the piston is here at the top dead center, then what is this? This is the connecting rod, CR, and this is the crank. They will be in a straight line here, like this. Okay, when the piston is at the top dead center up to this particular point. Now suppose this crank starts moving in the clockwise direction. So what happens actually? The piston starts moving downwards as shown here in the diagram by the arrow actually. The piston starts moving downward. Now actually in a four-stroke engine, petrol engine, when this piston moves downwards from the top dead center, the inlet valve opens. What happens? Inlet valve opens, whereas the exhaust valve is closed. Okay, this is closed. And when the inlet valve will open, we have a mixture of air and petrol. What is available to us? A mixture of petrol plus air. This is sucked inside, and it will be sucked inside till the piston reaches the bottom dead center. This is, you can say, BDC. So this is filled with a mixture of petrol and air. So we have petrol plus air. Petrol is also known as gasoline. Just wait, somebody wants to join. So now this stroke during which the petrol and air mixture comes inside into the cylinder is known as the suction stroke. And the reason why this mixture comes inside is because when the piston moves downwards, there is a sort of vacuum which is created inside the cylinder actually. And because of this vacuum, that the petrol and air is sucked into the cylinder. And there is actually outside there is a carburetor. Okay, you might have heard the name of the carburetor, which is normally used in case of small vehicles like scooters or bikes. Okay, motorcycles, that is used. But if you talk about the uh, cars, in case of cars, now we have a different system of injecting the petrol also. That is actually known as fuel injection system. Okay, so nowadays we are not using the carburetor, but for the timing, you consider here that only focus on that a mixture of petrol and air is sucked into the cylinder during the suction stroke. And what is happening? The motion of the piston is taking place from TDC to BDC. That is the one thing. And the moment piston reaches BDC, this is the location of the piston, and the crank, this is the connecting rod, and this is the crank. So this is how it looks like. Okay, it's once again a straight line. However, in between, anywhere else, suppose the piston is here when it is moving downwards. So this is the connecting rod, and this is the position of the crank. This is how it takes place. Okay. One more thing. Now you can see initially the piston, this connecting rod was here, and we have moved this much. So this motion of the piston from the top dead center to the bottom dead center during the suction stroke takes place in a 1/2 revolution. Okay, is it clear to you? Now what happens? Now consider the second stroke. The second stroke is the compression stroke. Now during the compression stroke, as I told you, the piston is here. Okay, the connecting rod is here, and the crank is here, and this crank shaft moves further, and because of its motion, the piston will be somewhere here. Okay, and this is how it is taking place. It is now going upwards. Now when it is going upwards during the next half revolution, from this particular point to this particular point, okay, what is happening actually? We are basically compressing the mixture of petrol and air. Okay, and this compression will reduce the volume of petrol and air till the piston reaches the top dead center up to this particular location. So basically, all this volume which was sucked during the suction stroke is now compressed to this much part only, here only. So what will happen when we are compressing the mixture of uh, petrol and air? Now, one more thing I would like to tell you, that during the compression stroke, this inlet valve is closed, this is closed, and this exhaust valve, that is also closed. We have some sort of arrangement which keeps both these valves closed during the compression stroke. Is it clear to you? And one more thing, when we are compressing the volume of the petrol and air to a very small volume, which is now only the clearance space. Now this mixture is in the clearance volume actually. This space is actually clearance volume. Okay. and we give clearance between the cylinder head and the piston so that piston does not strike the cylinder head. Otherwise, it can damage the cylinder head. Because there are valves in the cylinder head, there is a uh, spark plug in the cylinder head. This P actually shows spark plug. Okay. Now, uh, I hope this is clear to you. Now the volume is reduced actually. Okay. Volume is reduced to, I can say, if I say that the volume which was sucked inside was 1. During the compression stroke, this volume will become something about 1 by 9 or 1 by 10.5 of the initial volume actually. And this ratio of the initial volume to the volume after the compression is known as compression ratio. We will discuss about it later on also, so don't worry about it. Now, the compression has taken place during the second stroke. Once again, it's a half revolution, as you can see it from here. This is the motion of the crankshaft. Earlier, the motion of the crankshaft was from here to here, okay, this much, and now one complete revolution of the crankshaft has taken place. So that means there is a rotation of 360 degrees. Because this volume of air and petrol has been reduced a lot due to the compression process, so temperature and pressure of this fuel air mixture increases to a very high level actually. Okay, but in no case it can ignite itself because the ignition temperature of petrol is quite high, or the ignition temperature of gasoline is quite high. Though the temperature after the compression is quite high, but it is not so high that auto ignition can take place. So what we need is, we have a spark plug here, which is denoted here by a symbol P actually. So this is the spark plug. So with the help of this spark plug, a spark is produced, and this spark actually ignites or starts the combustion process of petrol actually, because the air is already present there, and you know air is required for the combustion process. So what will happen? There is production of high pressure, because when the fuel burns, the gases are produced, and those gases are at very high pressure. So those gases will force the piston downwards during the next process. So the location of the connecting rod was here at this location, and then when the piston starts moving downward because of the force of the gases, the piston comes here, it reaches here, this is the location, and then it reaches at this particular point, and the final location is like this. This is this part, this much part is the crankshaft, and here we have the connect up to this point we have the connecting node up to this point only. Okay, so once again there is a half revolution of the crankshaft like this. So 1.5 revolutions of the crankshaft has already taken place, and as you have seen, because the gases are forcing the piston downwards, so it is known as the power stroke, because we are getting the power, and this power stroke is basically responsible for the motion of the engine actually, or the vehicle actually. Okay, because of it only the automobile will start moving. Now once the piston moves from the TDC to BDC, okay, uh, this is actually known as the power stroke. One more thing I would like to tell you, during this stroke, once again this inlet valve and this outlet valve or the exhaust valve both remain closed. In the first case of suction stroke here, the inlet valve was open, exhaust valve was closed. Here the inlet valve in the compression stroke, it was closed, exhaust valve was closed. Here also inlet valve is closed, exhaust valve is also closed. So both the valves are closed. Now, at the end of the power stroke, the gases have imparted their energy to the engine actually. So they have produced the motion. So in the next stroke, because we have utilized the energy of the gases, we need to make them go out of the engine. So what happens in the next stroke? This is the initial location. This is the BDC. This is the connecting rod, and this is the crank. The rotation of the crank further takes place for the next half revolution. Piston moves from BDC to TDC, and whatever the gases which were present here, okay, they are thrown out from this exhaust valve, because now exhaust valve is open where the inlet valve is closed. Okay, so inlet valve is closed, but the exhaust valve is open. So all the gases are exhausted out from the engine.
So,
Yes, any question?
how can we know that now? Yes. How can we know that it's closed, it's open?
See, there is a arrangement. Actually, see, I am not telling you about the arrangement, that how these valves are opening and closing. Right now, I am only explaining you what exactly happens. During the suction stroke, inlet valve opens, whereas the exhaust valve remains closed. During the compression stroke, both the valves are closed. During the power stroke, both the valves are closed. And during the exhaust stroke, the inlet valve is closed, whereas the exhaust valve is open. And there is a arrangement. And this arrangement, uh, if you will be a mechanical engineer, then you can understand it. Means you can read it later on. Right now, I am not going to explain you that machinery behind it, that how these valves are opening. Okay, there is a camshaft arrangement, because you don't have the idea about the camshaft and some other arrangement. So that is you won't be able to understand that even if I explain you, and you need not to understand that at this particular moment also. But one thing I would like
Okay.
to tell you. Yes, any other question?
Yeah, another thing, but let's tell me.
Hello.
Yes, I can hear. I said, tell me what's you want to tell us.
Okay.
I
So
will ask
please
after.
mute your mic. Now, see, there is a term which is known as cranking. Okay, cranking. Now, what is the meaning of cranking actually? See, whenever we have to start any vehicle, we have to start our bike, scooter, or motorcycle, anything, or car. We have to do the process of cranking. Cranking means when we are kicking it, when we are trying to start the vehicle by kicking it. Okay, that process is actually known as cranking. Without that, the vehicle will not start, the scooter will not start, car will not start. So cranking basically puts the crankshaft into motion, and during cranking the engine starts. So once the engine starts, the all four process keeps on repeated again and again, and it is only the power stroke which is responsible for providing the power for the other three strokes. Means the meaning is very very clear. When the engine starts working, during the power stroke, we get the power, and this power drives the crankshaft during the suction stroke, during the compression stroke, and during the exhaust stroke, and remaining power is utilized for moving the vehicle further. Okay, moving the vehicle further. So that is how an internal combustion engine works. Now, I talked only about a petrol engine. Now, what is the difference between a petrol engine and a diesel engine is that in case of diesel engine, in place of this spark plug, okay, in place of this spark plug, we have a injector. Injector is used for injecting the diesel actually. Okay, and there is one more difference in case of diesel engine. In case of diesel engine, during the suction stroke, during the suction stroke, we actually suck the air only. and during the compression stroke, when the compression stroke ends, it is diesel which is injected due to from the nozzle, from injector. Okay, diesel is injected, and the compression in case of diesel engine is such that before the compression, if the volume I say is 1, then after the compression process, this is reduced to 1 by 14 to 1 by 22. So it is reduced by 14 times or 22 times. So the pressure increases so high, and corresponding the temperature of the air also increases so high that auto ignition of the diesel takes place. And then once again the power stroke and exhaust stroke takes place in a similar manner as it used to happen in case of a spark ignition engine. So the only difference is in the process of ignition part actually in case of petrol engine, in case of diesel engine, and the process of injection of the fuel into the engine. Is it clear to you? Okay, if it is clear to you, then I will proceed further. Now we are, yes, any questions?
No.
Yes, any question?
I want to know the work of CR in
Uh,
the
yes, repeat the question.
work of CR in the previous screen.
No, no. Can you write your question on the WhatsApp?
Yes, I can write in WhatsApp.
Okay, you write it. Okay, in the meantime, uh, okay, I will now explain about the auto cycle. You can tell me the question. I will answer it later on. You write it on the WhatsApp actually. Okay. Uh, now I am going to talk about auto cycle. Okay. Auto cycle is also known as constant volume cycle. Okay. So what it is actually, it's an air standard cycle. Air standard means we are considering air as the working substance. So it's written here, it means that air is working substance. And we are considering a closed system. We are considering something like this. We have a piston and cylinder arrangement, and now there are no valves in it. Okay, nothing like that. No valves are here, and we have air inside the closed system. And basically, we are just trying to copy the working of a petrol engine. Okay, we are just going for the copying of a petrol engine. Now it comprises of four processes. Following processes, basically there are four processes because we talked about the four-stroke engine. So there will be four processes in all this cycle actually. Even if it is a two-stroke engine, sometimes we do have a two-stroke engine earlier also. In that particular case also, we have four processes. Okay, so an auto cycle comprises of four processes. The first process is written here, reversible adiabatic compression of air. Okay, and on the PV diagram, it is shown here. This is the initial point. This is the initial volume of the air which is there inside the engine, and here up to this particular point, we have the compression taking place according to the process PV raised to power gamma is equal to constant. Okay, so there is no heat transfer during this process. As you know, it's a reversible adiabatic compression process. and adiabatic means no heat transfer. So I have written here heat transfer during the process 1 to 2 is 0. And because the compression is taking place during this process, so the pressure will increase and the temperature will also increase. And we define a particular parameter known as the compression ratio. It is written as RC, and it is the ratio of V1 by V2. So this is V1 and this is the V2. Okay. And if I correlate it to the geometry of the engine, then this location, this point can be considered as the cylinder head. This is the cylinder head. This location I will call as TDC, and this location I will call as BDC. So basically we are not considering any suction process in this particular case. We are starting from the compression process. So at point 1 the piston is at BDC and it moves upwards towards the TDC, and at this particular point we have the compression getting completed. And this volume between TDC and BDC, this much volume which is remaining here, this is actually known as clearance volume. Clearance volume. Okay. And this is the stroke length between V1 and V2. I would like to show the previous diagram. From this, if this is the top dead center and this is the bottom dead center, so this length is actually known as LS. It stands for stroke length. What does it mean? It means stroke length. Okay. And volume corresponding to this length is represented as Vs, which is actually stroke volume. What is it? It is stroke volume. Okay, it is clear. So between V1 and V2, this volume from here up to this particular location, this is actually Vs. Okay, this is Vs. And this ratio, compression ratio, is equal to V1. So V1 we are counting from this particular point up to this particular point. So it is V1. And from this particular point to this particular point, the volume is V2, as you can see from here. And this is clearance volume. It is denoted as Vc. It is denoted as Vc. So I can write here V1 is equal to Vc plus Vs, and divided by V2 is actually Vc. So I hope this is clear to you. You can see it here. I have tried to make you understand. And this volume of and this value of compression ratio in case of petrol engine varies between 9 to 10.5. Okay, so basically during the compression stroke, we compress the initial volume of the air to that of 1/9. So if I say initially the volume V1 is equal to 100 cc, cc stands for centimeter cube, then at point number 2, the clearance volume, which is also equal to V2, will be equal to 100 divided by 9, which will be equal to 11.11, something like that. Okay, 11.11 cc. That would be the volume at the end of the compression stroke. So is it clear to you? Okay, let us proceed to the next process. So this was the first process, as you have seen it. And now I will go to the next process. Now the second process which is shown here is, okay, I have here these diagrams I have drawn, and these are the diagrams which I have taken from the book actually. So these have been copied in the next slide. So you can see here, this is the process 1 to 2. So it is V1. Here we have the V2. In between we have the Vs here, and this is actually Vc. This much volume is Vc. So at point 2, from point 2 to point 3, okay, it is a heat supply process at constant volume. So we are supplying heat. In a real engine, it relates to the process of combustion of the fuel actually. But in case of this Otto cycle, we are considering that we are supplying heat at the constant volume. So the engine is moving so fast that we are considering that the volume of heat supply is taking place at constant volume. So 2 to 3, as you can see it here, okay, the volume remains constant and heat supply is given by Q1. Okay, so I have written the formula for the heat supply here. It is Q2 to 3, and you know it's a constant volume process, and heat supply during a constant volume process is given by Cv into T3 minus T2, because the temperature at this particular location is T3 and temperature at point 2 is T2. Point 1 the temperature is T1, point 4 the temperature is T4. So at each and every point the temperature is different. So during process 2 to 3, the heat supplied is given by Cv T3 minus T2. And if you remember the processes which we have studied earlier, you can correlate it with that actually, if you remember it. Now you can see when we supply heat, the temperature T3 is going to be higher than temperature T2. So T3 is higher than T2. So when you will calculate this value, it will come out to be positive. Okay, so it means it is heat supplied, because this is entering into the system. So it is heat supplied. So I call this as QS. It is heat supplied. S stands for supplied. And during this process, volume remains constant, pressure increases, temperature increases. Okay, because if we are keeping the volume constant and we are increasing the temperature, the pressure is bound to increase. Okay, the next process is the reversible adiabatic expansion. It is reversible adiabatic expansion from 3 to 4. You can see it here. Okay, 3 to 4, this is the reversible adiabatic expansion. And I say it is PV raised to power gamma is equal to constant, and during this process heat supplied is equal to 0. And because it's an expansion process, pressure will go down, temperature will also go down. Okay, and let us proceed to the last process. And during this process, basically the expansion is taking place. So it's a sort of power stroke for us. Okay, it's a power stroke for us. From 2 to 3, it was heat supply. During 3 to 4, it's a sort of power stroke for us, because we are getting the work output in this process. You can see it here. During the compression process from 1 to 2, okay, we are compressing the air, so we need to supply the work. So it is written as WC. During the expansion process, it is written as WE. So we are getting the power output basically. Okay, so it's a sort of expansion stroke for us. Now let us move further. The last stroke is the heat rejection, and once again it happens at constant volume. Okay, the heat rejection is taking place at constant volume. So you can see the process takes place from point number 4 to point number 1, and the volume remains constant. So V1 is equal to V4. Okay, and the heat which is rejected, or I can say uh, first of all, we have written the equation for Q4 to 1. It is given by Cv T1 minus T4, because it is the final condition, final temperature minus the initial temperature. That is what we have to write actually. Like here, when we were supplying the heat, we wrote final temperature minus the initial temperature, T3 minus T2. Similarly, here also, during the process 4 to 1, the final temperature is T1 and initial temperature is T4. So T1 minus T4. But you should know, remember here, the temperature T4 is greater than T1. Temperature T4 is greater than T1. So what I have done in the next line here is, I have written Q4 to 1 is equal to minus Cv T4 minus T1. So I have replaced it. Okay, and negative sign has been taken out. Now you can see here, now this quantity, this total quantity, this is positive. Okay, and the negative sign is there in front of it. So it means it's a sort of heat rejected. Okay, so in the next line, I have written QR. QR stands for heat rejected. and now the value is actually equal to CV T4 minus T1. It shows, QR shows that if you compare both these equations here, which equation? This one, this value and this value, both have the opposite signs. So I have written here Q4 to 1 is equal to minus QR. So this is very important step here. Okay. Now what we can do is, now we have completed this cycle actually, and we would like to calculate its performance. So what we will do, we will apply the first law of thermodynamics to this cycle, and the first law of thermodynamics says cyclic integral of delta W is equal to cyclic integral of heat transfer. And then for all these four processes, we can write W net is equal to heat transfer during process 1 to 2, heat transfer during process 2 to 3, during 3 to 4, during 4 to 1. And we know this 1 to 2 process, this is reversible adiabatic. It is PV raised to power gamma is equal to constant. So during this process, the heat transfer is 0. So this I have cancelled out. Similarly, if I take this process, this is also reversible adiabatic. PV raised to power gamma is equal to constant. So this will also be 0. Okay, so I am left with this value, heat transfer during process 2 to 3 and heat transfer during process 4 to 1. So let us see. So the value of W net comes out to be, you can see here, this is the value. Now if you remember exactly, I have written this Q2 to 3 is QS. Let us go back, and this Q4 to 1 is QR. Well, this is minus QR actually. Okay, so you can see it here. I have written it here. This is QS and it is equal to Q2 to 3. And here I have written Q4 to 1 is equal to minus QR. So that is why the negative signs comes into picture here. QS minus QR. So QS is heat supplied and QR is heat rejected. So net work is always equal to heat supplied minus heat rejected in this particular case. The next step is to calculate the efficiency of the Otto cycle. So efficiency, as you know, of any heat engine, this Otto cycle is also a heat engine. Okay, and in case of a heat engine, the efficiency is given by work output, which is W net in this particular case, divided by the heat supplied, which is QS, and then W net we have calculated as QS minus QR. So it is here divided by QS. Okay, so in the next step, it is written as 1 minus QR divided by QS. Now what we can do is we can put the values of QR and QS. So 1 minus CV T4 minus T1, this is the value of QR, and CV T3 minus T2, this is the value of QS. In the next step, we can cancel this CV by CV and we are left with this particular value of the efficiency of the Otto cycle. Okay. What I will say is that you will have to write it in by your hands. Until unless you will write it yourself, you won't be able to understand it. So right now we have 7 minutes. I would like to finish this topic. Now actually, if you see here, the efficiency of the Otto cycle is written in terms of temperatures here. Okay, these all are temperatures only. So no doubt efficiency of Otto cycle is a function of temperature. All the 4 temperatures actually, as you can see it from here. But I would like to represent it as a function of compression ratio RC and gamma. Gamma, you know, is the ratio of specific heats Cp by Cv. So let me do some modifications or some further processes. Now you know about the process 1 to 2. What is process 1 to 2? This is this process, okay, or this process. It is PV raised to power gamma is equal to constant. It is a reversible adiabatic process, and for a reversible adiabatic process, I can always write T1 V1 raised to power gamma minus 1 is equal to T2 V2 raised to power gamma minus 1. And then I would like to calculate the value of T2 by T1. And this comes out to be V1 by V2 raised to power gamma minus 1. Now you remember we have defined the compression ratio is equal to V1 by V2. Means this volume is V1 and this volume here is V2. And the ratio of these two is compression ratio, and I have also written it is equal to Vc plus Vs divided by Vc, and I told you Vc is clearance volume and Vs is the stroke volume. So I get this first equation, which says that T2 by T1 is equal to RC raised to power gamma minus 1. So this you need to remember. I will write it once again also. Now you see it here. If I take the process, okay, I have written it once again here so that you don't have to look back in the previous slide, process 1 to 2, and now once again process 3 to 4. This is the process 3 to 4. And once again, this process is also reversible adiabatic. So once again for it, I can write T3 V3 raised to power gamma minus 1 is equal to T4 V4 raised to power gamma minus 1. And now I have calculated the value of T3 by T4, and it comes out to be V4 by V3 raised to power gamma minus 1. Now just you see this diagram of PV diagram. What is volume V1? V1 is equal to V4, and here V2 is equal to V3. So what I have done here in this particular expression, in place of V4, I have written V1 here, and in place of V2, I have written V3, I have written V2. And what is this V1 by V2? I told you this RC is given by V1 by V2. If you see this RC, I have told you it's the compression ratio. If I write V4 by V3, this is actually known as RE. E stands for expansion. So it's a expansion ratio. RE stands for expansion ratio. And in case of Otto cycle, both values are equal. That is, RC is equal to RE. Compression ratio is equal to expansion ratio. So that is why in the next line, what I have written here is this quantity T3 by T4 is equal to RC raised to power gamma minus 1, because RC and RE both are same. Okay. So this is equation number 1. This is equation number 2. Okay. So you can see the right hand sides for both these equations. This is RC raised to power gamma minus 1. This is also RC raised to power gamma minus 1. So it means T2 by T1 should be equal to T3 by T4. So let us see. So I have written here T2 by T1 is equal to T3 by T4, and both are equal to RC raised to power gamma minus 1. So once again, taking this only, what I have done, I have subtracted 1 from both the sides, and finally I get T4 minus T1 divided by T1, T3 minus T2 divided by T2. Okay, and then I can rearrange it, and I will get the value T4 by T1 divided by T3 by T1 is equal to T1 by T2. This is what I get. And you can see here, this T1 by T2 is, this is T2 by T1. So this value will be equal to 1 over, this is equal to 1 over RC raised to power gamma minus 1. And that is why when I write this value T4 by minus T1, T3 by T2, I have written here, this is coming out to be 1 over RC raised to power gamma minus 1. Now, do you remember what was the equation for the efficiency of the Otto cycle? Efficiency of the Otto cycle was given by 1 minus, here we were having T4 minus T1 divided by T3 minus T2. Now, we have got this value of T4 minus T1 divided by T3 minus T2. So you can see, and this T4 minus T1 divided by T3 minus T2, this value is also equal to T1 by T2. So I can replace this value here in this expression by T1 by T2 also. Okay. And this value is written as 1 minus 1 over RC raised to power gamma minus 1. So efficiency of the Otto cycle is equal to 1 minus 1 over RC raised to power gamma minus 1. This is what I wanted to explain you, and I could finish it before 3. So any questions if you have? I think you have asked about RC, and I have explained what is RC, what is the function of RC. RC is a compression ratio, and we are using it for defining the efficiency. So higher the value of the RC, higher will be the efficiency of the Otto cycle. Right now, I have not explained you about the TS diagram, that I will also explain later on. So any questions you can ask me. So I hope the lecture is clear to you. So